All right, fellas. So let me give you my story. The testimony I wrote, I made it about just me, and it was about 2 years into my walk with Christ that I actually felt able to even know what a testimony was or know what my testimony was. But I felt it was very important at the time to make it only what I did. Um, there were things that happened in my life that may have influenced, or definitely did have influence on a lot of other things. Um, when I think probably about 8 years old, I was molested by a cousin, and it wasn't his fault directly because he was also being molested by a gym coach. So that's an easy one for me to forgive. I actually forgave that pretty quick. Um, but I didn't even remember that for from 8 till in my 20s, sometime in my 20s. And what happened that night, I'd come home from the bar drunk, and I didn't give my life to the Lord till I was 36. I came home from the bar drunk. My brother came home from a different bar drunk, and we ended up meeting up. And me and my brother were never really close. We took care of each other. If anybody came after one or the other one, we'd take care of it. But we never really were that close. And that night we had a talk. We just kind of went out, sat underneath this tree in the dark, and we're having a talk. And he, my brother was like, it's kind of messed up what happened when we were younger. And I was like, what do you mean? And he mentioned what had gone on, and everything came back all in a heartbeat. And at that moment, for me, it was, it answered a whole lot of questions. And, as hard as it was to all of a sudden be flooded with all these memories, it also kind of really set me free from a lot of things, because my brain repressing that had actually created problems for me too, which I'll talk about. But which is why I believe I can minister to a lot of homosexuals, and because growing up during that time from 8 to 20 whatever, and I think it's a confusing time for a lot of people. Most children or teenagers, whatever, it's a transitional time or whatever you want to call it in your life, where you have these big questions, and but I would have these feelings that went with them. Like I remember one time a girl I was dating was talking about private school, where there was like this group of guys who were the A crowd, but at the same time they were all like way too close with each other. Like, she was telling me about they're all in the hot tub together and kissing each other, and I was like, wow, that's disgusting. But at the same time, I could feel that. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, why do I feel flesh? Why do I feel like the touch of, whatever, wherever, and like, that would cause confusing thoughts for me, and I would be like, wow, like there would be times when I struggled. I'm like, is this what I really want? Why do I keep having these thoughts all the time? Like, I know that that's not what I want, but at the same time, why does this question keep coming along? And I kept drawing this line in the sand, and I say sand because it would only last for so long, and then at another time, I'd be struggling with this again, and I would justify, my position by saying, that's what animals do. Like, humans are higher than the animals, and the reason we're not like them is because we don't give over to those kinds of desires and stuff like that. And I would keep myself, steady. And but when I had found out that something actually did happen, it kind of answered a lot of questions. I was like, wow, that's why I could actually feel flesh. That's why I could actually almost experience those emotions that went with it, because something had been done to me when I was younger. So it kind of set me free at the same time as it brought back a lot of painful memories. But there's a lot of things I could blame my whole life, on everything else. My dad was an alcoholic till I was 12, and cocaine addict, and there were a lot of. He never hurt anybody, but there were a lot of violent tendencies in the home, a lot of fights. He was a breaker of things. He wasn't, he didn't hurt people, but he would smash stuff. I remember one time I still remember to this day, it was a Hamburglar. Do you remember the glasses from Burger King? They'd have like the drawings on them. I don't know if it's too old for some of you guys, but one of those smashed right next to my face when I was a child in the playroom, on the wall, because he had thrown it and not realized I was in there. I've seen, him take doors off the hinges, phones off the walls, when phones were on the walls. I remember one night sitting by the door. I would keep his lies too, you know. He'd be like, "Oh, you know, don't tell that we went to the bar," and I thought I was doing the right thing. You know, my brother would always tell, but I would always, you know, keep the secret because I was Dad's number one man, you know, oldest son. And one night, I remember my mom locking him out, and I'm sitting by the door in this apartment that we were in, and he's on the other side of it, and he's like, you know, "Come on, Jay, it's your dad. You know I love you. Let me in. Just open the door." And, you know, I opened that door and all hell broke loose, you know. And so there were many, many memories, you know, of things that could have affected my life. I'm sure did, but, you know, that I could blame my own choices on. But, you know, it's important to take responsibility for, I made those decisions, you know. So I was, you know, and my brother, my brother acted out. I coped. And I controlled things, you know. The people used to call me Pop. I had my first gray hair at the age of 12, and because I'd try to hold the world together, and I mean, I get emotional thinking about it. But so, you know, as my brother acted out, I didn't think it was correct to do that, and I would go to the extra lengths to be the good son. So I got the best grades. You know, I studied the most. You know, when I got older, I was the first guy to get a car. I was the first one. I paid for, you know, I was going to pay for my own car, but my mother let me pay for half. I paid for my own insurance. You know, first one to go to college, first one to hold a steady job. Like, and that was the way that I would keep it. And all the bad things that I was doing, I kept from my parents because I felt like they shouldn't be disrespected, or that they didn't need to know it wouldn't hurt them, you know. So I was a people pleaser, and really what people pleaser tends to, I think, morph into over time is manipulator. And I got to be really good at hiding things, a really good liar, you know, had a really good poker face. And so, you know, on the front of everything, I was this model character. You know, parents would, like mothers would, you know, be happy that I was around their daughters, and I was really the worst thing for them. And you know, I remember the day, like, that it all changed for me, where I was actually sweeping a staircase, and my friend Jimmy was at the top of the staircase. I was working at the school district, and I was like, "You know what, I'm done." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I am completely finished trying to make everyone happy. It's too much work. I'm just done. I'm going to live for myself from now on." And everything just really, I got what I wanted, you know. Everything went down the tubes from there. At the time, I thought it was, you know, what I wanted. So, you know, I started smoking weed, started drinking when I was 17, and I smoked weed because my dad was alcoholic, and I didn't want to ever become one. I'd actually promised I never would, and so I smoked more weed than drinking. I smoked a whole lot of weed, and that went into other drugs too. I mean, acid, LSD, microdots, mushrooms, just about everything you could think of, other than like crack cocaine and heroin, you know. And it was all, none of it ever took control of me, where I had to keep doing it. But I would experiment with just about anything. And you know, and then women were my vice, and I would chase them, you know, I'd chase them down and, you know, figure them out, and you know, I'd be out drinking to get them drunk, not to get drunk myself. And so women were my vice. But let's see, fast forward to, I'm living with a woman. I, you know, bought a house that my father sold me, living with a woman on and off for about 4 years. And one day I decide that I'm done with her. I'd had enough of her, and I need to get rid of this girl. And so I come home from my job, and I remember I'm standing right outside the front window of my house, and she's out there. And I was like, "Look, we need to have a talk." And she's like, "What do you want to talk about?" And I was like, "What do you think?" And she said, "You don't love me anymore, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't. I don't love you." And she said, "Well, that's a problem." And I said, "Why is that?" And she goes, "Why do you think?" And, you know, I remember, like, the brakes just screeching, like, wow, this girl's pregnant. I just told her I don't love her, and there's really no way to pull off the happy face on this one, you know. But we tried to stay together. Stay together. I think till she was 6 months pregnant. No, not that long. Maybe about 4 to 6 months, somewhere in there. And we broke up, and she moved out. And but before that had happened, um, I had tried to push her to get an abortion, and because it was all about me, and I knew that as this child came into the world, that the life that I led would come to an end. That financially I would be struck, and I'd probably be a janitor for the rest of my life, and all these thoughts were coming to me, and I was pushing her, man, and I mentally abused that girl. I really pushed for her to get an abortion, and I got her to the point where she agreed to do it. And I had promised her, we'll stay together if you get an abortion, blah, blah, blah. And we went to Planned Parenthood. And, they do an ultrasound there. I don't remember if she asked for it or if they offer it. But we were in the building. And I know, the building just feels dark when you're in it. And, we found out that the baby was far enough along that it wasn't a bundle of cells anymore, that it was actually a fetus, and we didn't go through with it. I had said that. I said, look, if we go and it's not just a bundle of cells, then we won't do it, and probably just trying to get her there. And so we ended up not doing it. Thank God, I know there are people who have gone through it, and nothing against you, but so I was willing to kill that child. I was willing to murder, right, in order to preserve myself. And, my oldest daughter's 13 now, and, she got to bear the burden of my bad decisions, of my life outside of Christ. And she still bears it to this day. And that messes me up because, she, all the times that she would visit and come here and leave, I know she'd be crying and I'd be crying, and that is just the product of a life outside of Christ, and I know that. But so here I am, just again out there doing whatever I want, partying and all that. And another girl had at one point told me, she was pregnant by me, but she hadn't told me till like months later, and she had apparently got into a car accident or something like that, and said she lost a baby. I don't know whether that was true or not. It's definitely a possibility. But that was the life I was leading, and I had several brushes with AIDS and herpes and just like STDs of girls. I'd find out that a girl that I slept with, had some type of an STD, and somehow I didn't get it. And the one girl had slept with someone who had AIDS, and somehow I didn't get it. And so I used to go like every couple months for a check just to be sure. That was the lifestyle that I was living, and it was rotten. But so fast forward a few years till my 30s, I meet Shelby, and actually met her much earlier in life, but ended up meeting her, coming back around to encountering her again, and we start dating. And at some point we're like, we get married, and at some point we're like, we want, she's now pregnant, and we want our daughter to be raised in a place where she can learn right from wrong. And like, we should probably go back to church, which is ironic because we know what's right and wrong and where it can be found, but yet we don't want to be there, right? But we know that it's the right place to be, so it's kind of messed up. But we end up going to my parents' church because they were been trying to get us to go there for a while. They're like, oh, you should come to our church. The Spirit is alive and well in there, and the Spirit's present in there. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, you guys got like ghosts in your church or something? Like, you're in a cult. You're not in a church, And I didn't know. You don't understand spiritual language. I was not spiritual. So anyway, we go, and the sermons start tooling on me. I'm laughing one minute, crying the next, just riding that roller coaster. And I'm way in the back of the church. My father gives his life to the Lord and decides to get water baptized. And I watch him get baptized, and it was the two guys in the tank that got me. Like it was, I was happy that my dad was getting baptized, but that wasn't really moving me. It was the two guys that were in the water with him that were like celebrating as if they were really accomplishing something. They really truly believed that what they had just done had done something in this man's life, and their faces, they were just so happy and so free. And me, 6 years into corrections, I'm about as nasty as I can get, I let people get hurt in that job. I hurt people in that job. I was part of that, the run in and pull people out of the cells guy, and CERT team, all these different teams, and typical prison stuff. It just made you so hard, the sarcasm and all that. And I'm about as hard as I can possibly get, as nasty as I can get, and all of a sudden I recognize, and I think I have a good life, and I recognize this joy inside these guys that just convicts me to my core. Excuse me. And still does to this day. And I just remember thinking, man, like, I have nothing like that in my life. I have nothing like that inside of me, and I need to have that. Whatever that is, I need that. And to get it under control. I thought I'd moved along enough in my faith that I could just handle speaking about these things, but guess not. They're still real to me. Just like it's happened, 5 minutes ago. But, so I gave my life in the back of that church without uttering a word, I know the scripture says, what's in your heart is, you profess it and all that, but I professed it to the Lord in my mind. And I told him, I said, I don't need you to break me. I see all these people with these broken lives, and they come to you, and I don't need that. And I don't want that, because I fear you and I know you're real. And if you'll have me, I'm coming. Man, I can't even talk about it. I said, if you'll have me, I'm coming now. And I'll have whatever you have for me. I'll give you whatever I've got. Which really is nothing. But at the time, I didn't know that. And he accepted me. Broken, nasty, and foul. In the back of the church, without even saying a word. And I gave my life to him. I got water baptized, and nothing happened in that water that I could feel. The pastor warned me ahead of time. He said, don't go thinking you're going in this water and you're going to get electrified or anything like that. He says, you're making a proclamation of faith. You're showing your brothers and sisters what you believe, and that you're becoming a part of that family, and symbolizes your death, burial, and resurrection with Christ. And he put me under the water, and I got out of the water before I had a chance to feel for anything, and I was like almost upset. I don't even know if I was wet yet. And I went back to my chair, dried off, went back to my chair, and when they sang, I sang a little louder and put my arms up, because I didn't want everyone to know I was a fraud and that nothing happened to me in the tank, because I didn't understand baptism at all, what was really going on. And I thought I should have got zapped, But I think it was about, I want to say 6 days is the number that comes to my mind. It was probably longer than that. I don't know. 6 days or 3 days maybe. I don't know. 6 is the number that's coming to mind. But I'm sitting in my room, and I'm laying in my bed, and I just start crying. And that was a big deal for me. You wouldn't know it by looking at me now, because the tears fall out of my eyes quite often. I always joke. I say, the rivers of living water come out of my face. It's so true. But back then I was so, before that I was so dead that, tears were not even a reality for me. And so I'm in bed and I'm crying. And my wife comes in the room, and I give her credit for that, because it's a huge step at the time, because I was still vicious. And she says, are you all right? And even back then, that could have ended up in a fight for her, because I would defend myself in a vulnerable position. But I said, no. I said, you know what? I'm not all right. I said, it's like, I said, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to reach out for everything that I've known myself as, like what I've defined myself as for 36 years, like who I know me to be inside, and I can't feel it. I can't feel me. And it's like someone took everything that I was and threw it behind some invisible door and locked it, and I never ever want that door to open again. And I didn't even know that it needed to happen like that. Like, and I was just crying because I was happy, because I was free from me, and I never even knew that I needed to be free from me. And it's been powerful. That night I went to sleep, and I mean, the dreams that came, were just amazing. It was all about the apostles and all about the deaths of the apostles and following Christ up this tower and this spiral staircase, and just knowing that everybody, that that they were coming for us, and that, it would end in death. And another dream, I woke up in the middle of the night from that dream, and there's this light, this amber colored light, just bursting forth from my chest, like, and this is reality. We're in the waking world, like, there's this light that I can see in my chest, and it's like wants to pull me up off the bed. That's how strong I felt this thing. And I'm just sitting there smiling because I knew what it meant. I knew that God's Spirit was with me. And I thought about for a moment, oh, maybe I could speak in tongues or something. And I didn't. I just was like, I don't need to. And I just fell asleep smiling. I laid there smiling until I fell back to sleep. And then that light followed me into my dreams. And I'm walking through the woods with these people, and I'm leading them through the woods, and that light is shining down from somewhere behind us, but at the same time I could feel it on me, and it's leading the way, and we're like going through this, just leading everyone through this forest, and the dreams are just insane. And they ended with this movie screen, and on it was the words, "I love you." And it was just crazy, because they were not normal dreams for me at all, and I knew exactly what was being said to me. And from that point forward, I woke up and life began to change. And my parents are leaving, just wondering if they see me sitting in the truck. But yeah, so, and it's been crazy ever since. The day I got water baptized, I just had this feeling, and I know now who was talking to me, but I didn't know then that, if Christ came to live inside of me, then he must see everything through my eyes. And there was no way that I could ever look at pornography again. I could not subject a pure and holy God to filth. And I would not. I absolutely would not. I loved him too much to do that, and I feared him too much to do that. So pornography was done from day one. Not long after that, and I had IBS for 2 years. I'd go to every bathroom in town, no matter how dirty they were. As soon as my stomach flipped, I had to go, and I'd go to the bathroom 5 or 6 times a day. And God healed me of that. He said, he's talking to me one day, and he's like, you're sick because you want to be. And I'm like, what? Why would I want to be sick? And he's like, think about it, and I got to thinking, like, there were times that I would abuse the system and go fishing, take a day off to say that I was sick and I wasn't, or use it as a crutch, I can't do this because, or whatever, and I kind of there was a sick, deep down part of me somewhere that enjoyed the pity of other people for my sickness. And I knew, that there was truth there. And I had to sign this contract every 6 months in order to get this time off from work without being penalized. And I signed it. Even though I heard God speak, I signed it. And I got sick the next day, and I was sick for 5 days straight. It was the worst I'd ever been. And I knew why. And I promised God, I said, if you hold up your end of the bargain the next time that paperwork comes around, I will not sign it. I will not sign it. And it came around, I didn't sign it. and I was set free from IBS. And I'd gone to doctors and everything. They said, this is lifelong. You're going to have to learn to cope. You're going to have to change your eating patterns, all this stuff. And it doesn't go away. And I didn't sign that paper, and I have been free from that ever since. And it's been over 4 years, maybe closer to 5 now, that I have not had a problem with that ever again. And I'm just continuing some of the testimonies of what God did for me after this. I'm at a red light one day, and I had been listening to Curry Blake, and I think it was Curry Blake or Michael Brown, and they were talking about how it was Curry Blake, and he says, you need to take and set your faith in stone. He says, you have to get to a point in your faith where you make the decision to say, I believe, and no matter what I hear from this point forward, it will not change my mind. That is it. I already made my decision, and this is where my feet are planted, and for the end of my days, you know. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because, you know, you're constantly, I believe. Oh, what did that guy say? Oh, I hope there's an answer. Otherwise, oh, you know. And I said that was it. I'm at a red light. I closed my eyes. I said, Lord, this is the moment for me where I make my decision permanent. I will not change my mind from this point forth. It doesn't matter what I see or hear. I believe in you, and that will never change. And when I opened up my eyes, I could see every blade of grass and every leaf on every tree, as if like I put on these high definition glasses. The whole world lit up, and it was like I wore glasses for rain, like any rainy day or at night, or if I went bowling, I couldn't even see the pins at the end of the alley without them being all blurred together. So I had worn glasses for years, since I was a janitor till into being a correction officer. So it'd been over 10 years, and that from that day forth, I have never ever put another pair of glasses on. I refuse. I'll wear sunglasses, but never ever a prescription pair of glasses ever again. And I don't need them. I absolutely don't need them. I see everything perfectly and crisply, and it's just amazing that God healed my eyes, and just amazing, man. And I write from time to time on the internet about what God's done for me, and you know, the things He's taken me out of, like the cursing. I don't curse, you know, just everything. It's amazing. And now, you know, not just healings in me, but healings for other people, because I pray for them and put my hands on them. And that's amazing. It's so amazing. And you guys have heard some of it. And it took, you know, I think it did happen over the years sporadically in different places, you know, but I always like justified it. Oh, maybe they just got better. It was a coincidence. And then now it's just every time. I mean, they're like one time, I think, or with Derek's son, so 2 times that I prayed and didn't see immediate results out of all the times that I've prayed. And this is weekly at this point now, where if someone comes to me and asks for a prayer, I pray they get healed. That's amazing. And I'm not taking anything from anyone who's not seeing that, because God has our walk tailor-made for us, you know. But man, I was just sitting in the Arsenal like 2 days ago and crying in the dark. You know, my partner's over on one side of the thing, and they don't see me over there. And then I just felt God saying, look, like just making it clear, like, how amazing is it that you're confirming me, you know, because I read in the Bible, like, where Jesus said, if you don't believe me, then believe the mighty works. And just how amazing is it that you're confirming me by your mighty works. Like, it makes me feel good, because it makes me feel worthy, you know. It makes me feel like maybe I'm walking, you know, the right path. And I know He loves us, and I know that, you know, He does whatever He wants to do regardless of what we're doing. But I strive to be a good son. I'm gonna cry. I do. I strive to be a good son. I love Him, you know. I love Him. And I don't want to. It makes me sad. It really, like, I don't want to be some funhouse mirror, you know, where people look at me and they get a distorted image of God. I don't ever want that. I don't want them to look at me and say, I don't need your God because I already look like that. You know, I already have that God because I hear your foul mouth or I see your foul deeds. And I have a God that looks just like that, so why would I need yours? I need them to know and I need them to see in me that He changes you. And that it's not about cleaning up your act or trying hard to be a good person or whatever. It's about His Spirit coming to live in you and just completely turning everything upside down to the point where the world looks at you and says, what the heck is that? And that's what I want. And that's what I strive for. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that He talks to me all the time. And I'm thankful that He counts me worthy. There are times that I don't count myself worthy. This is a long polo. Maybe you guys stopped listening by now. Sorry, man, I'm losing it. But I just know it's true. You know, I know it's all true. And it's overwhelming. Because I don't have doubts. He's given me the down payment. And I know. I know. The only thing I don't know is how to end this polo. Did you guys say something about that? It's kind of hard to know how to end a polo. I don't think it's ever going to end. It's crazy. Anyway, that's my story up to this point. You know, seeing strangers healed and family members healed and myself healed and lives turned upside down. You know, it's powerful. And I'm done. I'm going to sign off. I got to get in the house. I got to straighten myself up. I'll talk to you guys later.